we'll give our chair another minute or two, and then Aaron, I believe you're our vice chair. If you can tell us when you're prepared to take the reins for the meeting, if you wish.
Okay, let's give another couple minutes.
Stephanie said she wouldn't be able to make it tonight.
Okay.
Would or would not?
Would not.
How about the others? Do we know?
Sean?
I'm pretty sure Sean was, oh, there he is.
He's coming.
I don't know that we've heard from Robert Chase D. I don't recall seeing anything. But we have a quorum.
Chair, you can start the meeting whenever you're ready.
You're muted, Sean.
I'm here. Can you give me 30 seconds, please? All right, good evening, everybody. We can call the Economic Development meeting to order. Today is 12/3/2020. The time is 5 o'clock. And can we get a roll call, please?
Committee Member Kane?
Here.
Committee Member Goldman?
Present.
Committee Member Montauk?
Here.
Committee Member Tiedemann?
Here.
And Chair Charles. Chair Charles.
Here. Perfect. All right. So the first order. The first thing on the agenda tonight is we respectfully want to pay homage to all the families and victims of of this pandemic, and those that have especially lost their lives, and those who are dealing with the loss of a loved one during these holidays. So we'd like to pay homage with a moment of silence. Thank you. The first item on our agenda is the approval for the October 1st minutes. Did everybody get a chance to look at the minutes? And if so, somebody can make a motion to approve them.
I motion to approve the October 2nd minutes.
Seconded.
Perfect. So, sorry, do we get a roll call for all those in approval, or do we just raise our hands?
We can.
So all those in favor?
Yes.
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 Perfect. Okay. So it looks like the minutes have passed. The next item on our agenda is public comment. So Are there any committee members wanting to make a public comment? Okay.
I'm sorry, point of order. Is it for committee members or is this the public to make?
I'm sorry, public comment. It's public.
I don't see any raised hands
Okay.
or, on the public attendees.
Okay. All right. So I guess moving right on then we have presentations. 5-1 is presentation on economic trends.
Yes, give me a moment here to share my screen. So this is kind of a two-part presentation. I kind of combined both the economic and the public health update into one PowerPoint just to make it move a little bit more smoothly. To begin with, I'd like to start with some relatively good news. The City of Albany has provided an opportunity to review the details of sales tax receipts within the city. Most of this information is confidential to protect the privacy of individual businesses, but there are summary data that is available. And this table on the screen shows you the most recent information that we have, which is the second quarter of 2020. We get these reports quarterly, and there's a few months delay before we get them. So we got this information a few weeks ago. And it shows the second quarter of 2020 was the April through June, when the COVID crisis was in full tilt, compared to the same quarter in 2019. And as you can see, the City of Albany, compared to some of our neighboring cities, has been doing a little bit better. In terms of the overall taxable sales, the drop is about 24% for Albany compared to last year. As you can see from the screen, other cities, other nearby cities are in the 30s and 40s in terms of drops, with the exception of Richmond, which is similar to ours. There's a little bit of a breakdown that we can provide publicly, and you see it there. General retail here in Albany has dropped by 12.4%. The food products, which would include restaurants, are down by almost 30%. And again, in most cases, a little bit better than some of our neighboring cities. So while it's not good news, it could be, and it is a little bit worse in other cities. The next thing I wanted to go through is some slides showing some data that comes out of the U.S. Census Bureau. And they're doing some interesting work. They are doing weekly surveys of small businesses throughout the country. And they are reporting this almost in real time. They have a series of questions they ask, a total of, I think, 21 or 22 questions, and they break it down by metropolitan area. So this is not just Albany, this is the San Francisco, Oakland metropolitan area. But I think it gives a good view of what's happening real time in our region, and hopefully is somewhat reflective of what's going on in Albany. This first slide, the question that was posed is, overall, how has this business been affected by the coronavirus pandemic? And the red line is a moderate negative impact. The blue line is a large negative impact. And the green line is little or no effect. So at the beginning of the pandemic, back in March and April, there was a large effect. That's kind of creeped down a little bit. And the moderate effect is holding steady. And then the little or no effect is creeping up a little bit. And this is not overwhelmingly good news, but it's not overwhelmingly bad news. And particularly good to see, close to, over 15% of businesses are not having an effect, are not being affected, and 40%, roughly 40% are moderate, and 40% have a large negative effect. So we'll continue to look at this on a periodic basis as this information is updated. This is another slide that I thought shows some interesting trends. The question that was posed in this case was, and this is a little bit older, this is just, they stopped asking this question, but nonetheless, I thought it was good to see that in the last week, did this business temporarily close one of its locations, any of its locations for one day? And, through the middle of summer or so, the red line indicates no. So most businesses were able to keep their locations open, and that seemed like a good, strong trend. Unfortunately, they're not asking that question and more recently. I don't know why. And then these next two are going to relate to the presentation Anne is going to give you in a minute, but it relates to use of online platforms. So this slide is the question that was posed is, since March 13th, has there been an increase in the business use of online platforms to offer goods or services? And the green line is this business does not use an online platform, which is the predominant answer. And the blue line is, yes, they have seen an increase. And, that's kind of a little bit jagged, sort of an EKG kind of looking thing. And then the red line is that they do have an online presence, but they have not seen an increase. So the takeaway from this is that there are a lot of businesses out there who are not using online platforms. And the next slide, and the last one out of this data series that I'll show at this point, there are a lot of other questions they pose that are interesting, but I think, again, relating to using technologies, the question that was posed here was, in the next 6 months, do you think this business will need any of the following? And I realize there are lots of different colors here, so I'll just kind of quickly highlight the yellowish one at the top is they do need, and this is over 30% of the businesses, increase in marketing or sales assistance. The other one that's close to that is obtaining financial assistance or additional capital. And that's kind of the what color would that be? I think it's kind of the bluish line there is the capital question. And then the online question, again, is the green color, and is kind of covered up, unfortunately, by this legend, but it's at 15% of the businesses are saying that they need to learn how to utilize the online sales or websites. So again, Anne's going to be talking a little bit more about some of the work that she's been doing with the students from the Haas School of Business, and I think that this might help inform that. Next, want to go through and kind of slide into discussion of some of the information coming out on both the public health data and public health orders. It's been a busy day. There's some breaking news on all that, and we'll get to that in a second. With respect to the orders, this is Alameda County data, and things are not looking too good, to be honest about it. And the little peak that you see in this graph is kind of an aberration of the data because there was one particular day that was a significant spike. This is an average over 14 days. But basically, there is a significant increase in the number of cases in Alameda County, and there's no evidence that this is slowing down at this point at all. This is a graph that shows the hospitalizations in the county, and we're back into the range of hospitalizations that we saw in August, and this is increasing pretty rapidly, and again, there's no indication that that's slowing down. And then this is an indication of the capacity of, the percentage capacity of ICU beds. And this is important with a new order that came out, or a new policy that may lead to orders shortly regarding the availability of ICU beds in the region. So this blue line that you see is the percentage of ICU beds available in Alameda County. It's 30%, around 30% right now. And if in the region that number gets down to 15%, there will be a region-wide shelter-in-place stay-at-home order, I should say, that will come into effect region-wide by order of the state. Just quickly here's the most recent. This is earlier today. The cases in Albany, there are now 90 reported cases of people who reside in Albany that have had COVID during the course of this pandemic. This shows the case rates per 100,000 residents. And again, none of this is good news, but at least in Albany, we continue to have the lowest case rate of any city in the county. As you can see, Hayward, Oakland, San Leandro, Livermore and Newark have fairly dramatic increases, significantly higher rates than we do. So in that respect, we're fortunate. And then I think it's important to acknowledge the ethnicity patterns of case rates by ethnicity in the Hispanic, Latino, Latinx community are just really suffering terribly from this. And I think that's, again, just something to be aware of and acknowledge. So today, this is a series of tweets that came from out of the governor's office to give you the latest information. And there's we're just kind of absorbing in the last hour or two some more written documentation. But basically what the state has announced is that when hospitals get below 15% capacity in their ICUs, the stay-at-home order will kick in for 3 weeks. And that second tweet, you can see what this means is all the things that will be allowed to stay open are schools that are already open, critical infrastructure projects, retail establishments at 20% of capacity, and restaurants for takeout and delivery. And bars, wineries, personal services, hair salons, and barbershops are examples of things that would be required to be closed. There is more information on the state webpage, and we'll be getting that out as soon as we can. So that came out, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours ago, probably. And in terms of the county health orders, nothing new there yet, but they're probably, they will generally tend to follow whatever the state, or they're mandated to follow whatever the state requires, and they might add additional requirements if there are localized situations that are unique to Alameda County. So with that, I will stop the screen share and be happy to try to answer any questions. I'm sorry I don't have more information on the emerging health orders, but we'll try to do our best to answer your questions and get back to you if we need to. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you, Jeff. We have a question from committee member Montel.
I had a quick question. I think if I read it, the governor's health orders, it categorizes per district, like hospital district. Do we know by chance, what Albany's district happens to be?
So the order that came out today is actually, Ann and I were just on a call an hour ago with a county health officer where this was clarified. It's going to be a region-wide calculation of ICU capacity, and it's 11 counties from Monterey County north to the 9 Central Bay Area counties plus Santa Cruz and Monterey County. So it'll be an aggregation of those 11 counties. Even if Alameda County is in great shape, if the other counties are in bad shape, we're in it with them. So it's not like the traditional hospital district that funds a hospital or two. It's not that kind of thing.
We have another question from committee member Tiedemann.
So this might be on the health orders, which I know you didn't have as much detail about, but just curious, I know we've all been put back into purple, but that so far hasn't meant that things like outdoor dining or other things have to close right now, correct? That will happen if we go into that shelter in place, stay at home order area.
That's correct. The revised order, and it currently is in place for Southern California, but it does eliminate outdoor dining. It restores food operations to takeout and delivery only, and it also prohibits personal services, haircuts, nail services, that sort of thing.
Any other questions? All right, and I'm sorry, Jeff, going to item 5, did you cover item 5-2? Was Ann going to speak more on that?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I kind of blurred them together just because the fussing around with the PowerPoint was, I didn't want to waste a lot of time with that.
Okay, gotcha. Any other discussion, questions? All right, so are we moving on to item 6?
We should probably ask if there's public comment.
I'm sorry. Do we have any public comment? Excuse me.
And I'm not seeing any raised hands, but if someone, if a member of public does wish to speak, they should use the raise the hand function or *9 on their phone. I don't see anything.
All right. All right. So we can move on to item 6. And that's discussion and possible action on matters related to the following items. 6-1 is the update on the marketing plan. And go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I think previously we mentioned to the Economic Development Committee that we were working with a group of graduate students from the Haas School of Business on a marketing plan with the city. And where we landed on this and what they have prepared for us is a very user-friendly guide on how to kind of get web marketing and traction and using Google. And so what they've prepared really gives step-by-step instructions for a business if they were to increase their marketing presence through Google and on the web. And right now we are going to, we have this partially in the hands of the city, the students, and the Chamber of Commerce. In fact, we had a meeting this morning to discuss this. And so right now we're, kind of looking at the next steps with this and how it's implemented and what resources will be applied to implement this. So we're, it's still forthcoming, but that's where we've landed with the collaboration with the students.
Perfect. Thank you, Ann. Any questions or discussion from the committee? Committee member Montal.
Yeah, just quickly. So have you actually seen, has it been presented already to the chamber and to staff?
Yes, and I'm hesitant to say that. So when we had the meeting this morning, Todd Abbott from the Chamber of Commerce, who is also an attendee in the meeting, he was part of that this morning, and so went through the preview with the students.
How did it, what did it seem user friendly? Did it seem intuitive? I mean, just be...
Yeah, they did a really thorough job of breaking it down step by step, and it going through the walkthrough with that, I think I think it would be beneficial if the business was interested in doing this. It would really lay out some pretty precise and straightforward steps for them to increase their web presence.
One last question: Did it kind of also talk about the business's website, how to optimize it, or is it really just saying if you have your website already ready to go, this is how you market it?
It's more the latter, yeah, and also having more, having the ability to get more hits through a Google search and that sort of thing.
One last question: Did it also include the opportunity for non-pay and pay for gaining traction?
Right now, they have it set up where they have a function at the end of the document that is the cost and budget, and I suppose it would be at the discretion of the businesses, with what they would be willing to pay and that sort of thing. I don't want to speak for the Chamber of Commerce, but I also get the impression that there may be some contribution that they may be willing to put into this for the businesses.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, John. Thank you, Ann. Any other questions, comments?
When do we get to see it, do you think?
Hopefully at the next meeting in the new year. I think we'll have it all finalized by then.
Okay.
Perfect. So before we hold, sorry, we have public comment from Todd. Have it?
Having a little trouble. Anne, can you unmute him? I'm having trouble getting access to that. Oh, there we go. Okay.
You can hear me now?
Yes, go ahead,
Just
Todd.
thought I'd provide my perspective on the meeting today. So what really was discussed was an online campaign for the district, for the city. So the tools that they provided would be valuable to a business owner who wanted to provide pay-per-click advertising for their business. But really what we were talking about, and what I think the value is kind of a campaign strategy for advertising business in Albany, kind of in general. So we are, the Chamber and the SAA are working on a new website, or kind of a rebirth of a website that will list all businesses, and that will be the direction, that will be where these ads are targeted. And what I thought the most important thing was saying, yeah, I do this professionally, so I understand the technical part. I mean, that they laid it out very clearly. It's very nice. But what was valuable to me was kind of the marketing strategy they provided, how to draw clicks, eyeballs from folks who are good candidates for, discovering or wanting to try something different and try Solano or services in Albany. So that's kind of my perspective on it. We weren't really, I didn't see this as a plan to go out to the businesses and enable them to market themselves. I mean, I've offered that sort of webinar before, or in person, actually. It was a while ago, so it was in person training before, and we did have some take up, but we could certainly provide something like that again. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of clarify how I see this. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Todd. Is there any other public comment?
I'm not seeing any.
Okay, great. So we will close item 6-1, and we will move on to item 6-2, subcommittee updates. The first subcommittee is the business retention and attraction committee. Member Kane or Montal, do you have any?
Our committee did not meet, at least as far as I'm aware.
And I'm sorry, committee member Sala as well. Okay, and the next one is reopening. I know myself and committee member Tiedemann haven't met either. Any updates from the Arts Committee?
Yes, we it's just me, so we met. I actually attended the Solano Avenue Association Board of Directors meeting. Alan was also there, and I went to their meeting to sort of just discuss in a general way our desire to work with them more, to try to get some plans moving forward. There's lots of great ideas, and what came out of that meeting was the idea of using using empty storefronts to be a place for art exhibits. Mm-hmm. And there was lots and lots of great ideas. And so since then, I've been emailing with Brandon Schneider, who's currently the chair of the Arts Committee. It seems like he might be leaving the Arts Committee, which is unfortunate. It's not completely clear to me who would be the next chair. There's two other people from that committee that have been on the emails. And so we've just been, our plan was to even just to start talking to business owners. We have a list of the vacant storefronts. Alan has been great in sharing all the resources, all the information. I need to find out who in the city I need some clarification on how to present myself to the business owners. And once I get that clarification, Brandon and I are going to start calling the business owners and just saying this is all beginning. There's some great ideas. Would you be willing to talk to us? Do you want to basically let us use your storefront. There's so many questions. Brandon and I are also going to talk to, they've done it in San Francisco and Chinatown. They've done it in Oakland. The Oakland Art Murmur has done so much stuff. And so there's lots of people out there that we are going to try to connect with to see how they did it. My impression is that the hardest piece is getting the agreement from the business owners. And once you get agreement, then it's just a question of, you find your art. I think we would want to have a pretty formal selection process because you don't want to, they're a member of the board of directors is Robbie Abrams, who owns the art gallery, runs the art gallery in Albany. He says he has lots of extra art. He knows lots of artists. There's lots of great ideas, but I think that my thought, and I think Brandon agreed, was that we want to be organized about it and not just sort of have it be first come, first serve and have a selection process. But again, the first step is to talk to the business owners, identify the properties. But it's very exciting because there's so much potential for really neat stuff. And then it's sort of win-win because the business owners, then the space could be sort of highlighted in a kind of neat way. And people, you could have lighting at night. There's all kinds of stuff you could do that would maybe even encourage the space to be rented. So that's what we're doing.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
That's a great update. Thank you.
Thank
Any
you. Yeah.
questions for Committee Member Goldman?
I'm sorry. Is there a question from?
No, I don't see any hands up. I do want to make a kind of a comment and maybe just kind of throw this out there to the committee. Is I think right now, aside from the contribution of the Arts Committee, I think kind of the committee function right now is almost doing I want to say certainly a disservice to maybe some of our business community. I think that the intention of these of the two committees kind of focus more or less on a recovery aspect, where I think our businesses are more in a survival kind of aspect. So I don't know about maybe kind of shifting some of the priorities in some of the things that shifting the priorities of our committees. And so they're focused more on some of the things that Jeff talked about earlier in his presentation, as well as some of the things that Committee Member Goldman just mentioned as well, such as getting updates for the vacancies or whatever, financial resources that may be available for businesses. I don't know. What do you, I know Committee Member Kane has some great input as well. And I'm kind of curious to see, what everybody's feeling is regarding, where our focuses should really be and how we better serve in the capacity that we're in.
It does seem like the times with COVID, there could be a shift in the focus of, instead of, the committees could be merged into, a committee that works on sort of, it is more about survival now.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are some new loans out there available to businesses.
Mm-hmm.
So we could be more proactive in just sort of finding out what's available and promulgating that, sort of trying to share that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the city, it seems like Jeff and Ann, you guys are really doing a great job of, being available to the merchants. Is there people ever call you guys and say, hey, can I get a loan? Is that a question that's asked?
From my perspective, absolutely not. Because for the most part, when your business is shut down, you have nothing but time. And you wake up with that cup of coffee and you're praying that last night before you went to bed or right after you went to bed, there's a new opportunity. When there's a new opportunity out there, they're aware of it. We don't get a lot of questions like that. They're chomping at the bit for the next one. So I don't think being a relay of information that's already out there is a practical use of our time.
Mm-hmm. so we're able to, I guess, get more out of the committees? I mean, are there better things that we can do? I mean, we didn't really give an update, what, last month? We haven't been able to meet, either online or obviously in person. So I don't know. I just, like to see, just try to figure out ways that we can get more out of the committees. That's all. Cool. So if there's no comment, oh, I'm sorry. Committee member Tiedemann.
So I just want to say, Sean, you beat me to it. I was going to suggest we think about some sort of reorganization in our future agenda items, but I think the reopening subcommittee was a good idea, but now that we're headed back into another peak, it seems like it might be a little bit of a rosy ideal. We still need to have that plan at some point because, hopefully vaccines will start to roll out at some point in the next couple of months and we can start actually planning for that in a little bit more of a firmer basis. But I do think not so much on the disseminating information front, because I think staff has done that pretty well. And as Alan said, businesses are keeping up with information as it comes out. But if we had some sort of subcommittee that's thinking about how do we change city policy, or do we need to change anything? Do we need to make anything more flexible? I know we had a lot of discussion when we were talking about outside dining, and seeing as we might have to stop doing that for a while and possibly go back and forth depending on where we are at in the curve, it might be smart to have some sort of committee to think about those sorts of things, to think about what flexibilities we can be giving just on the city level.
Chair Charles, if I may add, just in terms of the normal cycle of things, with the new council being seated here in a few weeks, I would expect that in early part of next year, they go through a strategic planning process to kind of help themselves organize and help give us direction about what to work on. Sure. And as part of that, you'll be asked to prepare a draft of work plan for the committee for the next couple of years. And so this kind of reflection and soul searching about what are the priorities will be occurring naturally, and probably beginning in February, maybe, or maybe March, depending on the city council cycle. And I would imagine that some new subcommittees will emerge out of that discussion of a new work plan.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Thank you. Thank you. Perfect. Is there public comment?
I'm not seeing any.
As well. All right, perfect. So we will close item 6-2 and we will move on to item number 7, announcements, staff and committee member announcements, reports and updates of status of previous agenda items. And item 7-1 is the San Pablo Avenue specific plan update.
Yeah, this is just a quick announcement to let you know that we are now live with a virtual open house for the specific plan. So if you go to the website, it's sanpablospecificplan.org. It's right there front and center, join the open house. And if you click on that, it gives you an interactive survey that you can provide comments, share your thoughts on the specific plan process, and our consultant at the end of the beginning of the year, we'll compile all of that and go back and incorporate the comments and the feedback into the draft specific plan, which we expect to see later in the winter, go back to Planning and Zoning Commission. So feel free to participate at your convenience. It's going to be up all month. So it's available when you want to participate. I do have one other announcement that did not make the agenda, but is just for good measure for the group. As you are all aware, the 2-year term of your appointment is up. And right now, if you are interested, you are welcome to reapply to be appointed to the Economic Development Committee. You can go on the city's website and find the pertinent forms and file those with the city clerk for consideration for appointment for the next term.
And Mr. Chair, I should point out, we do have a public comment now when the time comes.
Thank you. And is there any comment from the committee? If not, we will move to public comment.
Anne, I'll need you to, there we go.
Hi, thank you. Good evening, this is Jeremiah. So San Pablo is going to be a big plan. That's what it looks like. So I mentioned this before, a positive suggestion would be to implement some sort of San Pablo Avenue Association, some sort of committee. I know Solano Avenue, our other business district, has a Solano Avenue Association, and all these businesses on Solano, this commercial area, has their own Solano Avenue Association. I'm just not sure if Albany has a San Pablo Avenue Association committee or anybody representing Solano Avenue businesses. There might be even more businesses on San Pablo than Solano. I'm just not 100% sure. So I would suggest for a future agenda item, possibly somehow create a San Pablo Avenue Business Association or something. Because right now, if I'm not mistaken, there's only some sort of Solano Avenue. But if you're going to plan this big old San Pablo ordeal, it might be nice if San Pablo businesses had somebody to go to, so they can have an activist or some sort of group representing them. Because if it's just Solano Avenue Association, San Pablo is kind of left out. And, you know, there's a lot of businesses. You got the plaza right there with Happy Donuts, the laundromat, Round Table Pizza. You got Benjamin's and More, paint places, all sorts of auto mechanics, right? We got Paul 77 Auto Care. I just want to give a shout out to Paul 77 Auto Care. What a great place. You got Albany Tire. You know, we got, what is it? The hospital, Alta Bates. I believe that's in Albany. Albany Bowl. There's so many businesses on San Pablo, and it doesn't seem like they're represented very well because Albany doesn't have some sort of San Pablo Avenue Association. I know the Solano Avenue does, Solano Avenue Association. So yeah, so maybe we can do a San Pablo Avenue Association for all these businesses on San Pablo. If you're going to have some sort of master plan for San Pablo or some sort of so maybe we can incorporate in this plan to have some sort of San Pablo Avenue Association, and maybe they can have a representative or some sort of task force. Maybe some business owners can be on that committee or a volunteer from Albany. So that's my positive suggestion, San Pablo Avenue Business Association. Thank you.
And thank you, Jeremiah. We also have a public comment from Todd Abbott.
Yes, I just wanted to be sure. I've noted Jeremiah's comment before, and it's a good comment. It's valuable. I just want to point out that Albany does have a Chamber of Commerce that does include San Pablo. Roughly 30% of our membership are on San Pablo. Many of the businesses that Jeremiah just named actually are members of the Chamber, and we are interacting with them and keeping them informed and notifying them of all these meetings and encouraging their participation. One of the big differences is that San Pablo Avenue itself is not as well suited to events. You know, it's controlled by Caltrans, and you can't close the street, and it's not, doesn't really get that level of attention. Not to mention the mix of businesses is a little different, doesn't lend itself as well to event promotion such as the SA does. So that might be why Jeremiah is under the impression that there isn't an organization that is looking out for San Pablo Avenue, but the Chamber very much does. I just wanted to be sure that was clear. Thanks.
Thank you, Todd. Do we have any other public comment?
I don't see any others, Mr. Chair.
We will close item 7-1 and we will move to item 8, which is future agenda items. Committee members announce requests for any future agenda items. Committee Member Tiedemann?
So just to go back to a little bit earlier, I mean, I know I won't be on this committee anymore. Hopefully everyone else reapplies, but I'm definitely not going to be allowed to be on this committee anymore. But I'd love to see a future agenda item. As I said, I know that we're going to possibly enter into a period where we're going to have our restaurants close down the outside dining they've done. So if we could get ahead of that curve and have discussion about, if we need to change our permitting, if we need to make sure that permitting situation we have right now stays in place so that if restrictions open up again, that we can, be ready to go back to it. I'd love to see that discussion happen.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any other comment, questions? Committee Member Kane.
I raised my hand earlier. I'm sorry to rewind just a little bit back to the San Pablo specific plan. I wasn't sure if you saw my hand. Is it okay if I ask a question about that, or do you want to just deal with it next time we meet?
I guess as a point of order, since we moved, can we go back to that if I missed him? Or
I mean, are people seeing my raised hand, like lower, raise, lower? Does anybody see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I now see it. It's at least on my screen, I'm focused on the public attendees to see when they're raising their hand.
I raised it earlier, but Jeff actually preempted what I was going to say about a new council coming in, etc. But let's just move on. I don't care. San Pablo's not.
There's no objections from any of the other committee members. Can we do that? Can we go back?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. Committee Member Kane, please.
Thank you. Very, very simple question. The San Pablo Avenue specific plan, which it looks like it's a plan done by the city. It looks like a city web page, a city website, obviously. Is this still part of the Bay Area transportation, the plan that was presented a while back to shut down San Pablo down to 3 lanes? Is it part of that same discussion, or is this a different discussion?
This is a different discussion. We got a grant through the State Department of Housing and Community Development to fund this plan, so we're taking the lead on it as the city. It's entirely separate from the regional transportation efforts you mentioned.
Okay, and okay, it's out of it. Not my ballgame. It all sounds very confusing. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other comments related to item number 8, the future agenda items?
Mr. Chair, it looks like we have another public comment.
All right, we will move to public comment.
Good evening, everybody. This is Jeremiah. So I would request for a future agenda item, Solano Avenue, and the cleanliness of the Big Belly trash cans, and just the cleanliness of the sidewalks. They're very filthy. There's gum everywhere. And I'm not sure if all it takes is just to call Public Works and to put in a work order, but future agenda item would be making sure the trash cans are sanitized for COVID because everybody's touching them. And they just haven't been cleaned since March. So I've cleaned a lot of them myself. So a future agenda item would be the cleanliness of Solano, and how maybe having a COVID task force to make sure, all the door handles are wiped down, and the garbage cans and the handrails at the post office, just things are clean and sanitized. So maybe we can have some sort of task force or a group effort, so we could focus on Solano Avenue. There's a bunch of trash everywhere, so maybe the cleanliness and sanitizing Solano Avenue to keep it looking beautiful for the holidays and everything. And all the Christmas lights, I don't think they're up this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremiah. Do we have any other public comment? All right. With that, we will close item number 8. Item number 9 is our next meeting. Will be on Thursday, January 7th, 2020 at 5 o'clock. And with that is we will adjourn this meeting. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Hey, have a good holiday.
You too. Happy holidays.